Hello and welcome to another episode of Dave Trippin' Couch Therapy. It's Wednesday, so that means that we're doing a Q&A, whereas on Monday I was doing the discussional chat. The email that I chose today kind of sparked the title for this video, which is Teaching English in Japan, What Path Should I Choose, or What's the Best Path? This subscriber writes in from India, and he starts off by saying, India is a place where everyone is normally supported by their parents until they've fully secured full-time job, very similar to Japan in that way, actually. Or for women especially, I'm one of them, and this really makes me write to you for some details. I hope you reply. I'm in my second year of my graduation, Bachelor of Commerce. I've always liked Japan and wanted to settle there. I have no experience in teaching. That's okay, as everybody knows. To enter into the public school system, you would need a 4-year degree. It doesn't matter what it's in, although of course it benefits you if you had some background in teaching, but it's not absolutely essential. I've always liked Japan. I have no experience in teaching, but I know the English language well and I'm fluent in speaking. All of my schooling in college was in an English institution, and it says here you were there for 14 years, so you're good. Now, what follows is why I chose this email to respond to and the reason that it sparked the title of this. I have seen countless videos about various things in Japan. That has left me confused. Can you tell me what must be my first step for here on forward? I messaged another YouTuber. He told me to steer clear of dispatch companies as they don't treat their employees well. Also, I have heard that Eikaiwas are also used to, or they'll get their employees to sell products to their schools, or not their schools, to students, because they're a private school and so they can make a great deal of income from selling textbooks and additional materials and things like that. Long-term goal is to eventually teach in an international school, right on, or university, not kindergartens though, sure. But I am open to being an ALT for years. Please let me know what is the best way for me to start and go about doing this. So I said listen closely there and follow what I was saying, because specifically this idea of too many options, and that this idea of damned if you do, damned if you don't. And there's always going to be, no matter what you do, and this extends beyond this video actually, I want to turn it into a conversation for something else, is that it's that old idea that you can't please everyone, and however you live your life, somebody else is going to think that you should have lived it somewhere different. And there's great evidence there in the idea that if you're coming into the country, you probably, unless you're coming with a master's degree, and so you can already enter into a university, you're probably going to have to choose public or private. And of course, everybody's going to tell you, if you look at some of these more negative sources, that there's all these reasons not to go into either of them. But then where are you left? What are you going to choose if that's all that you can see? The reality is, and what I should say is that everything is going to have this negative side to it. And so, ultimately, you simply need to take the plunge and realize as well, if you're thinking about doing this thing where you live in Japan and you live there for a longer period of time, that you shouldn't think about it in terms of the first job that you receive. I've mentioned in other videos, and in fact I'll link that one down below, where I've actually talked about if you want the best teaching job in Japan, the sort of path that I suggest that you should go along. But more than talking about how to get the best teaching job in Japan, I want to address in this video how to approach any process of getting a new job or going on whatever new adventure. And that's kind of realizing past a certain point, you pull the trigger. It's your decision, and inevitably you are going to have naysayers saying that you shouldn't. And it's not even that you overcome those naysayers, that you're going to disregard any of the bad things. It may be true, like when people say that dispatch companies don't treat their employees that well. It's entirely true. Their whole business model is that they can hire internationally, and that they can have a huge turnover of staff for that reason, and it doesn't really matter to them. They're sort of a rookie mill, but they have a use because they're going to hire you from outside of the country. Vice versa. You have the Eikaiwas, where the concern that people have that if you work for them, they're going to get you to push products onto the students, and you may not like that. But then if you go into an Eikaiwa, you're usually a lot more hands-on and leading all the classes, whereas if you're in an ALT or dispatch company role, it's a bit more lax. So sure, you have to push a bit of products, but if you're going to continue teaching, you're probably better equipped to do so after going through the private sector. There will always be these two sides of things. I really enjoyed a comment that somebody said that, like, I have a philosophical approach to things, but hey, however you can get through to people. There's always going to be the light and the dark. If you don't find that, then you should be incredibly suspicious of the experience that you're having, because it's lurking somewhere, and it's better to have your eyes wide open to the whole experience than blinders on, narrow-minded, imagining that it doesn't exist. It's definitely there. But the hope that I can say is that no matter which one of these you choose, you're going to have good experiences, you're going to have bad experiences. People maybe want a juicier dialogue here where I say, no, you go down this one, and this is the one that absolutely works, and you swear off this one. But this and nearly everything else in life will never, ever be so clear-cut. You go with your gut past a certain point of gathering information, and then you live with your decision. And provided you don't have something like a family that you're supporting, you adapt to the experience that you have. Where I think, to tell more kind of anecdotal evidence, although it's not the best, you never know who in a bad situation you might meet that would lead to something good. For example, I could tell a story of a friend who went into one of the most horrible teaching jobs you could possibly imagine, but in the course of doing so, then met someone who was connected to another teaching job that he got a much, much better job out of it. So at first he hated the job, and for all appearances it was the worst thing that he had ever done, the worst decision. How could he have started this way? You couldn't have started any worse. But then as a result, ended up with one of the coolest teaching jobs that you could possibly get. Our strength when you come over to Japan is your adaptability, that there are so many jobs to choose from and that you're not locked into one. If you find that you're in a situation where you really don't like what's going on, the onus is on you to do something about it. That's why I don't begrudge something like a dispatch company that does something like the 29.5-hour work week, which prevents them from supporting you in healthcare when you actually work something closer to 40 hours a week, and they're saving a bunch of money. They're doing that as their business model. Does it make it right? No, but you are not locked into work for one of these dispatch companies forever. Knowledge is power. You educate yourself, you accept the good with the bad, you move on, you climb the mountain, you climb the next mountain, you evolve, and you get on to better things. And to reiterate the point that over-examining things eventually has the effect of paralyzing you, and to recognize that. It's one thing to accumulate great amounts of information and make an informed choice. I'm not saying you shouldn't. You research until you can definitively say, I'm going to do this because A, B, C, and good or bad, I prefer this load of good things over these bad things, and that works for me. And you go ahead and do it. Eyes wide open that you're probably still going to have a varied experience no matter what it is, but don't get stopped at the point of gathering information. And I think a lot of people do. I think people become so obsessed with creating a path that will be flawless and without error that they never act, and the truth is that path does not exist. Even in the same token, the most perfect path, when you've created it, if you go along it, things can go wrong the whole time. You could have gotten the most amazing job in the world, but then you get there, you get the highest salary, it's amazing, but then your boss is an absolute monster and you can't wait to get out of there, where your quality of living has dropped off the charts. So that is the essence of this video. Gather information, but only so far as it's useful for making an informed, educated choice. Don't let it paralyze you. And also accept that when you choose this path, it's going to be littered with good and bad. It's going to have horrendous things. But if you change and adapt, you'll find your way to where you want to be. And do not ever think of the next place that you've gone as your final destination. Never think of that. Life would be boring if the next place you went was your final destination. It's amazing because we get to continue, we get to progress, and we get to change our lives to suit our interests and grow, and wonderful adjective, wonderful adjective, wonderful adjective. That's the glory of life, is this incredible varied path that we can go down. So thanks very much for writing in. Who do we have here? Mr. Saneth. Really appreciate that. Anybody who enjoyed this video, why don't you smash that like button? I want to like flash in that H3H3, like, can I get 500 million likes? Smash that like button if you enjoyed the video. If you want to have your questions answered in the following week, please do write me an email or write down in the comments below. I'm always trying to have feedback and conversation with the community. The question I'll ask here is, would you prefer to be in the public school, or would you like to be in the Eikaiwa? That's or private sector, I guess I could say. Yeah, follow me on all the social media. Follow me on social media if you want updates, pictures of Japan, all that kind of cool stuff. If you want, there's always my Patreon. I really appreciate the support on there. There's my book as well, Stoneheart, and I should enter a little caveat here. If you buy the book outright, one-time purchase, it's 1,000 yen, 10 bucks. But if you support me at any level on Patreon, I include that book because I figure people who are supporting me there are probably supporting me for long term. So even if it's at $1, eventually that will reach the cost of the book, and I really, really appreciate that. Good times. It was fun making this video. Now for Saturday, please look forward to the Kyoto tour video, house tour that I'm doing when I visited my buddy over New Year's. It's gonna be straight gorgy. It's gonna be a beautiful video. I'm really looking forward to editing that and working on it. He's an incredible person, well-spoken, fascinating life, even more amazing place that he lives now. But that's all for now. Thank you again. I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.